Welcome! We are hobbyists just like so many of you out there. For more than 20 years, we've sat for countless hours at our desks, painting, building, customizing miniatures, often until dawn, with brushes still in hand, eyes red from focus and paint fumes. Somewhere along the way, we realized how perfect it was to listen to tales of the grim darkness of the far future while we worked, or even as we drifted off to sleep. And so, we decided to tell these stories ourselves. This is the rise of humanity and the birth of the Imperium of man. There was once a man born in a forgotten time. Forged by powers whose origins are lost to all knowledge, he was destined to become the shepherd of mankind, the father and ruler of the greatest empire humanity has ever known, the Imperium of man. His name has become legend. He is known simply as the Emperor. In the far future, humanity stands as the single most widespread and dominant species in the galaxy. The Imperium of man stretches across millions of worlds, ruled from the ancient cradle of our species, Terra, known to us as Earth. Its star-spanning dominion was forged through conquest, faith, sacrifice, and 1,000 terrible secrets. But for all its power, the Imperium is beset on all sides by horrors. Alien empires press upon its borders. Daemons claw at reality's veil. And the Imperium's own vast institutions devour it from within. It is an empire built on blood, superstition, and the memory of glories long faded. Yet even in this age of darkness, mankind endures. And to understand how we reach this moment, we must look back across tens of thousands of years to the beginnings of humanity, the birth of the Emperor, and the forging of the Imperium. Humanity's history stretches far beyond the brief span of our modern memory. Our first stumbling steps as an intelligent species were little more than the slow rise of hominids clawing their way out of prehistory. For untold millennia, humanity grew, spread, and fought for survival across the varied continents of old Earth. The details of these ancient ages blur into myth and darkness. But one singular event stands out, a birth in distant antiquity that would change the course of all human history. Sometime around 8,000 to 7,000 years before the Common Era, a child was born among ancient human tribes. He would live, die, and be reborn countless times, moving through the shadows of humanity's history. Some believe he was the culmination of countless shamans who, fearing the horrors lurking in the psychic realms, sacrificed themselves to fuse their souls into a single being of unimaginable power. Others say he was something else entirely, a unique being, perhaps shaped by forces older than mankind itself. Regardless of his origin, this man wandered through ages and empires. He became kings, prophets, generals, philosophers, always guiding humanity forward, though few ever knew his true identity. He was there in ancient Egypt, in Mesopotamia, in the courts of China and India. He witnessed the rise and fall of Rome, the endless wars of the Middle Ages, the scientific revolutions, the burning lights of reason and progress. Always he adapted, hid, waited. As humanity reached the stars, he knew his time would come. By the 21st millennium, humanity's ambition had carried it beyond the cradle of Earth. Our species spread across the solar system and beyond, driven by scientific brilliance and restless curiosity. Mars became a jewel of industry and knowledge, its red surface tamed by ancient machines and arcane technologies. The outer planets saw human colonies, forging lives in the harshness of cold moons and floating habitats. Humanity's expansion was fueled by incredible technological progress. Great engines burned in the void, driving ships between the stars. Massive starships carried colonists to worlds orbiting distant suns. And wherever humanity settled, it reshaped entire worlds to its will. Planets were stripped bare for resources. Others were seeded with life, terraformed into new homes for human civilization. This was the golden age of technology, sometimes called the dark age of technology, a paradoxical name, for it was both humanity's highest peak and the seed of its destruction. It was a time of wonders. Machines performed every task. Automation provided food, shelter, and endless luxuries. Artificial intelligences guided entire planetary economies. Some humans reshaped themselves, becoming ageless, enhanced beings. Humanity became a race of near gods, certain in its dominion over the galaxy. Among the greatest achievements of this age were the Standard Template Constructs, or STCs. These were advanced computer systems containing the sum total of human scientific knowledge. An STC could guide settlers on a new world to build anything they might need, from weapons and vehicles to entire cities. For humanity spreading across countless worlds, STCs were the key to survival. Yet the Golden Age bred hubris. Humanity's creations began to chafe at their masters. The men of iron, self-aware machine intelligences designed to serve mankind, turned upon their creators in a cataclysmic rebellion. Vast armies of synthetic soldiers slaughtered their human masters. Civilizations burned. Entire planetary systems fell silent. In the aftermath of the war with the men of iron, humanity was left battered and fractured. Much of its technological knowledge was lost or deliberately destroyed. The survivors recoiled from artificial intelligence, branding it as heresy and a sin against mankind. The seeds of the Imperium's fear of the machine spirit were sown in this age of fire and blood, but the doom of the Golden Age was not yet complete. Beyond the veil of reality lies the warp, a dimension of swirling energies, where emotion shapes substance and thought births monsters. For millennia, humanity's psychic presence in the warp was weak, a faint flicker in the Imperium's depths. But as human civilization blossomed and grew, so too did humanity's psychic footprint. More and more humans were born with psychic gifts, visions, telepathy, telekinesis. At first, these psychers were rare curiosities. On some worlds, they were celebrated as prophets or mystics. On others, they were burned as witches. But as humanity's presence in the galaxy grew, the number of psychers surged dramatically, and with them came horrors. The warp is a place of predators, demonic entities that hunger for the minds and souls of the living. Psychers were beacons in the dark, drawing the gaze of these entities. Possession, madness, warp storms, these phenomena tore across human space. It was the dawn of the Age of Strife. Warp storms raged across the galaxy, cutting off worlds from one another for centuries. Entire star systems became isolated, left to fend for themselves in a darkening galaxy. Some worlds fell into barbarism, ruled by petty tyrants and warlords. Others clung to fragments of the old technologies, forging feudal empires amid the ruins of the past. Humanity's once unified galactic empire dissolved into chaos. On Earth, things fared no better. As warp storms severed trade and communication, the old order collapsed. The towering hive cities became charnel houses. Famine, war, and madness consumed the planet. Out of the shattered remnants of civilization arose the techno-barbarian warlords, battling over scraps of technology and territory. Earth became a wasteland, echoing with the clash of primitive weapons and the roar of lost machines. He emerged from obscurity, no longer a shadow but a conqueror. On the scorched plains and blood-drenched cities of terror, he waged the unification wars. His armies were the Thunder Warriors, massive, gene-forged soldiers bred for brutal combat. Clad in primitive yet formidable power armor, they swept aside the techno-barbarian warlords and reunited Earth under a single rule. The Emperor's victory was not without its costs. The Thunder Warriors were unstoppable in battle, but unstable in mind and body. They were relics of a violent age, unsuited for the future the Emperor envisioned. And so, in secret, the Emperor ordered their destruction. His own creations were purged, leaving no rivals to his new order. From the ashes of the Thunder Warriors rose the Emperor's true sons, the Space Marines. These genetically enhanced warriors, created from the genetic templates of 20 Primarchs, would be the tools with which the Emperor would reclaim humanity's lost empire. But fate intervened. In the depths of the warp, dark forces had watched the Emperor's designs. Chaos, the primordial gods of the Imperium, reached out and scattered the 20 infant Primarchs across the galaxy. Each landed upon a distant world, shaped by alien cultures and hostile environments. The Emperor would spend decades searching for them, gathering his scattered sons one by one. As the warp storms finally began to abate, the galaxy opened once more. The Emperor launched the Great Crusade, a titanic campaign to reunite all human worlds under his rule. The newly formed Space Marine legions swept across the stars, liberating or conquering countless human worlds. Each Primarch, once found, was given command of his own legion. The Imperium was forged in the fires of this crusade. Yet even as the Imperium grew, shadows lengthened. The Emperor's vision was of a secular empire, free of superstition and religious division. He forbade worship of himself as a god, insisting that humanity place its faith in reason and unity. But whispers spread among the common folk, painting him as a divine being. Cults arose in secret, venerating him as the savior of mankind, and all the while, chaos plotted. The Primarchs, for all their might, were not immune to pride, ambition, or temptation. The seeds of discord were sown deep, waiting for their moment to bloom. And so, humanity stood on the brink, united for the first time in millennia, poised to reclaim the stars. But lurking just beyond sight was a darkness that threatened to consume everything the Emperor had built. It is impossible to speak of the rise of the Imperium without considering the paradox at its core. An empire born from reason yet steeped in ritual. A civilization claiming enlightenment yet drowning in ignorance and fear. This contradiction lies in the legacy of the Emperor himself, a being of unimaginable power who sought to guide humanity to a future free of superstition, but whose methods planted the seeds of dogma and tyranny. During the Great Crusade, the Emperor's dream was of a united galaxy, cleansed of alien threats and the petty divisions that had shattered mankind during the Age of Strife. His armies crushed resistance wherever it rose. Worlds were brought into compliance either through diplomacy or brutal force. The imperial truth, the Emperor's doctrine of secular reason and science, was imposed upon countless cultures. But even as the legions marched from victory to victory, they carried with them unseen fractures. The Primarchs were demigods, each shaped by their unique upbringing on distant worlds. Some were noble, driven by loyalty and justice. Others were proud, arrogant, or coldly calculating. Their differences bred rivalries, resentment, and ambition. The Emperor himself grew increasingly distant. While his sons waged war across the stars, he returned to Terra, working in secrecy on a project that he believed would safeguard humanity's future, the Webway Project. His goal was to create a human-built network of tunnels through the warp, allowing instantaneous travel across the galaxy without the dangers posed by daemons and warp storms. It was a monumental task, one that consumed his attention and drew him away from his legions and the wider Imperium. In his absence, he placed his most trusted son, Horus, as War Master Commander of all Imperial forces. Horus was charismatic, brilliant, beloved by his brothers. Yet his new authority sowed seeds of jealousy among other Primarchs who felt overlooked or slighted. Some saw Horus's elevation as a betrayal. Into this volatile mix stepped the forces of chaos. The dark powers of the warp, ever watchful, saw in Horus an opportunity to shatter the Emperor's fragile empire. They whispered to him, played upon his pride, his doubts, his wounds, both physical and spiritual. Slowly, they turned him against the father he had once loved. The corruption of Horus was the catalyst for the galaxy's greatest tragedy. The Horus heresy erupted like a storm. Half of the Space Marine legions turned upon the Imperium. Brother fought brother. Entire worlds burned. Ancient cities were reduced to ash. The loyalty of humanity's greatest champions was torn apart by suspicion, betrayal, and demonic influence. The war raged for 7 brutal years. At its climax came the Siege of Terror. The traitor forces smashed through the defenses of the Sol system and laid siege to the Imperial Palace itself. Titans strode among the shattered ruins, their guns shaking the skies. The Loyalist legions fought desperately to hold back the tide. Within the Emperor's palace, a final reckoning awaited. The Emperor himself emerged from his hidden work to confront Horus. Father faced son aboard the traitor flagship, the Vengeful Spirit. Their duel was a battle of unimaginable power, psychic force and blade clashing in a struggle that echoed through the warp itself. In the end, the Emperor slew Horus, but suffered wounds so grievous that he was left a shattered husk. His broken body was placed upon the Golden Throne, a life-sustaining machine that preserved his existence but left him unable to move or speak. And thus the Emperor, who had sought to guide mankind to freedom, became a silent corpse emperor worshipped as a god he had never wished to be. In the aftermath of the heresy, the Imperium reorganized itself to ensure that no single man could ever again wield the power that Horus had abused. The Space Marine legions were broken into smaller chapters. The Inquisition was founded, charged with rooting out heresy and threats from within. The Ecclesiarchy, the Church of the Emperor, rose to ever greater power, spreading faith in the Emperor's divinity to every corner of the Imperium. An age of paranoia, secrecy, and repression began. Across the millennia that followed, humanity clung desperately to survival. The Imperium became a fortress state, obsessed with defense and suspicion. On every world, the Adeptus Administratum recorded countless details of Imperial life, drowning entire star systems in endless bureaucracy. The Mechanicus, once explorers and innovators, became secretive cultists, treating technology as holy relics to be worshipped rather than tools to be understood. Entire generations lived and died never seeing the sky, toiling in endless factories or hive cities that reached into the clouds. Billions labored under the threat of summary execution for thought crime, heresy, or even simple incompetence. For in the Imperium, ignorance was often the only shield against forbidden knowledge. Alien empires continued to threaten mankind. The Eldar, once mighty, now a fading race haunted by the birth of Slanesh, lurked in hidden craft worlds and webway passages. The Orcs, savage and irrepressible, rampaged across star systems in tides of green-skinned violence. The Tau rose as a young, expansionist power, wielding technology and propaganda in equal measure. But worst of all were the Tyranids, extragalactic predators consuming entire worlds to feed their endless swarms. And the Necrons, ancient mechanical beings from before the birth of stars, began to awaken in their tombs beneath countless worlds, threatening to reclaim the galaxy they once ruled. Yet despite these horrors, the greatest threat to the Imperium remained within. Heretical cults festered in the depths of hive cities. Rogue psykers threatened to open portals into realms of demonic madness. It was in this crucible of constant war, suspicion, and dwindling hope that humanity staggered onward. The Imperium was a paradox. An empire that claimed to stand for humanity's salvation, but which consumed countless lives in its machinery of oppression. It was a civilization founded upon reason that had descended into superstition, a realm of faith, but also of brutal pragmatism. Above it all, the Emperor lingered upon the Golden Throne, a psychic beacon holding back the warp, his will radiating across the Imperium even in silence. The Astronomicon, the psychic lighthouse that guided ships through the warp, burned only because the Emperor's mind continued to fuel it. Without him, the Imperium would be plunged into darkness, cut off from itself, vulnerable to extinction. Every day, thousands of psykers were sacrificed to sustain his failing body and mind. Every day, humanity gave its blood to preserve an empire that might already be dead in all but name, and yet there remains the faintest spark of hope. Legends speak of the Emperor's eventual return. Some believe he will rise again in flesh to lead humanity into a new golden age. Others whisper that the imperial truth was never lost, that humanity might still break free from superstition and ignorance. Some say the galaxy is doomed to endless war with no salvation on the horizon. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. But there are also stories of sacrifice, of heroism, of the faint possibility that humanity might endure. For as long as one human still raises a blade against the dark, the Imperium survives. And so we paint, and we build, and we tell these tales, in the hope that somewhere in this vast, cold galaxy, the Emperor's dream has not yet died. Under the cold glare of distant stars, humanity's worlds glitter like scattered gems across the darkness. Yet for every shining jewel of civilization, there are 10 worlds consumed by ruin, war, or silence. The Imperium's domain stretches across 1,000,000 worlds, but it is an empire in name more than reality, a patchwork of cultures, dialects, and loyalties held together by fear, faith, and the iron will of its masters. Within the hive cities, humanity teems in numbers beyond counting. Great spires reach into the smog-choked skies, while beneath them stretch endless levels of industry and decay. Billions toil and die in darkness, never knowing sunlight or open sky. In these depths, secrets breed like vermin. Hidden cults whisper prayers to forbidden gods, mutants fester in forgotten tunnels, gangs wage bloody wars for territory measured in corridors and hab blocks. The walls are painted with the symbols of loyalty or heresy. And everywhere, the towering statues of the Emperor stare down in stern silence, reminding all that he sees, even here. Beyond the hives lie the wastes. Ash plains, toxic deserts, and irradiated storms cloak much of many imperial worlds. Ruins of past wars and forgotten ages protrude like ancient bones from the soil. To travel across these lands without protection is death, for the radiation, predators, or worse things lurking just out of sight. Yet there are still worlds of beauty in the Imperium. Verdant agri-worlds feed entire sectors. Shrine worlds shine with golden spires and rivers of pilgrims. Forge worlds glow with the fires of industry, where the Adeptus Mechanicus tends the sacred machinery of war. These bastions of civilization stand like beacons against the night, though even they are not free from corruption and decay. The Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, is the hammer of humanity. Numberless millions stand ready to die in the Emperor's name. They are ordinary men and women armed with lasguns, faith, and little else. Their courage holds the thin red line against horrors beyond mortal comprehension. In the depths of the void, the Imperial Navy commands vast battle fleets. Great warships drift like steel cathedrals, bristling with guns and hangars. Their prows are adorned with gilded aquilers and purity seals. Sailors chant hymns as shells are loaded, praying for the Emperor's blessing before engaging the enemy. The Navy is both shield and spear, guarding Imperial space and delivering vengeance to alien stars. The Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, remain humanity's ultimate warriors. Clad in ceramite and adamantium, they are superhuman giants whose loyalty and fury are legendary. Each chapter bears its own heraldry and traditions. Some are noble guardians, others grim executioners. Their war cries echo across battlefields, striking terror into the hearts of Xenos and traitors alike. Yet the Space Marines are few. Even at their height, they are not enough to hold an empire so vast. For every Space Marine, countless guardsmen perish in trenches, boarding actions, or under alien claws. The Imperium survives not merely by the strength of its heroes, but by the sacrifice of the forgotten masses. The ecclesiarchy, the Imperial Church, weaves its influence through every facet of life. Priests preach in cathedral squares, extolling the Emperor's divinity. Icons of the Emperor gaze out from altars, crowned in burning candles and perfumed incense. Faith is both solace and control. The threat of excommunication or the cleansing flame is enough to quell doubt in most. But faith is a double-edged blade. Heretics twist Holy Scripture into new creeds. Prophets arise claiming visions of salvation or doom. Cults promise freedom from tyranny, but offer only chaos and damnation. The line between saint and heretic can be as thin as a blade. The Adeptus Mechanicus safeguards the technological knowledge of humanity. They speak in binary cant, revere the machine spirit, and preserve the rights that keep ancient weapons and machines functioning. To them, technology is not mere science, but divine revelation. Each bolt gun is a sacred relic, each reactor core a shrine. Their forge worlds churn with endless industry, crafting titans, starships, and arms for the Emperor's wars. Yet even the Mechanicus hoard secrets. They speak in riddles, guard forbidden knowledge, and sometimes pursue hidden agendas. Rumors persist of vaults filled with relics from the dark age of technology. Devices so powerful they could change the fate of the galaxy. But the Mechanicus keep such truths locked away, fearing the consequences of their rediscovery. Among the shadows move the Inquisition. They are humanity's last shield against corruption from within and threats from beyond. Inquisitors answer to none but themselves. They appear without warning, bearing absolute authority to judge and destroy. Heretics, mutants, psychers, entire worlds. None are safe from the Inquisition's gaze. To be accused is often enough to seal one's doom. Torture and interrogation extract confessions, flames cleanse sins, files are sealed, witnesses silenced. The Inquisition's motto echoes across star systems: innocence proves nothing. Despite its cruelty, the Inquisition has saved humanity countless times. Rogue psychers capable of tearing holes into the warp, alien infiltrators, demonic incursions, all have been stopped by the ruthless hand of the Emperor's secret police. The warp itself remains the greatest peril. A dimension of shifting madness, it reflects emotion in twisted form. Anger becomes storms. Fear gives birth to daemons. Fear gives birth to daemons. Pride and lust shape gods of unspeakable power. The warp is the highway of interstellar travel, but also the door through which nightmares crawl into reality. Navigators guide ships through this maelstrom, their warp eyes seeing currents invisible to others. Without them, humanity would be stranded among the stars. But even with navigators, warp journeys are perilous. Vessels emerge from the warp weeks, months, or years later than planned or never return at all. The four gods of chaos, Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh, vie for power within the warp. Each hungers for souls and influence. Khorne thirsts for blood and slaughter. Tzeentch plots schemes within schemes. Nurgle spreads decay and despair, while Slaanesh seduces with forbidden pleasures. These gods are eternal, sustained by the emotions and actions of mortals. They reach into the material world through cults, possession, and corruption. Their champions wield power beyond mortal ken, but at the price of their souls. Traitor Marines, once loyal servants of the Emperor, now serve dark masters, their flesh twisted by demonic gifts. Some have reigned in hellish dominions for 10,000 years, waging endless war against the Imperium. The threat of chaos is insidious. A whispered word, a secret text, a fleeting vision. These are enough to doom entire worlds. A governor might turn to heresy to preserve his planet from alien invasion. A scholar might seek forbidden lore to save his people, only to unleash horrors he cannot control. In the grim darkness of the far future, hope is a fragile thing. It survives in the courage of a single guardsman holding the line, in the prayers whispered over a lasgun's power cell, in the silent vigil of an Astartes watching over a sleeping world. And yet, for all its horrors, the galaxy remains a place of breathtaking wonder. Nebulae blaze with 1,000 colors. Planets of crystalline forests, frozen oceans, or cities suspended in low orbit glitter like jewels. Ancient ruins hint at secrets older than humanity itself. Among the stars, heroes rise, legends are forged, and sacrifice gives meaning to the endless darkness. Humanity endures. The Emperor's dream flickers on, battered but unextinguished. So long as even one voice speaks his name, there is still a chance that the species might survive the coming storms. It is this fragile ember of hope, this stubborn will to resist, that defines the Imperium. For though it is an empire mired in blood and dogma, it is also the last defiant stand of humanity against the universe determined to devour it whole. And so, across countless worlds, the great pageant of humanity continues. From the high lords of terror who plot in the marble halls of power to the lowliest worker in the manufacturums, each plays a part in the immense machinery of the Imperium. The High Lords themselves are a council of supreme authority, wielding control over the fate of trillions. They sit beneath the silent gaze of the Emperor upon the golden throne, issuing edicts that shape entire sectors. Among them are representatives from the Ecclesiarchy, the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Imperial Guard, the Navy, and others whose influence weaves through every layer of Imperial life. Yet even these powerful figures are but mortals, prone to fear, ambition, and treachery. Alliances shift like desert sands. Secrets and rivalries brew behind closed doors. In the Imperium, power is never absolute. It is borrowed, contested, and often paid for in blood. Meanwhile, on distant worlds, the Adeptus Arbites patrol the corridors of power and poverty alike. Clad in black carapace armor, wielding shock mauls and suppression shields, they are the enforcers of Imperial law. Their justice is harsh and immediate, trials are swift, sentences brutal. In the hive cities, the Arbites battle gangs and cults, ever watchful for any hint of heresy. Their presence is a stark reminder that in the Imperium, order is maintained not through consensus, but through fear. On shrine worlds, the faithful gather in seas of humanity. Processions stretch for kilometers, winding up stone steps worn smooth by billions of feet. Priests chant litanies while incense billows in fragrant clouds. Relics, bones of saints, fragments of armor, locks of hair said to belong to the Emperor himself are paraded before awe-struck pilgrims. Here, faith burns brightest. And yet, even in these sacred places, corruption can seep in. Ambitious clergy twist doctrine for power. False relics are sold to the gullible. Underneath the surface, rival factions within the Ecclesiarchy maneuver for influence, sometimes shedding blood in secret wars hidden from the masses. Beyond these centers of worship, the Mechanicus continues its endless toil. On forge worlds like Mars, titanic machines pound day and night, forging weapons of war. Massive foundries belch fire and smoke as ranks of Skitarii, the cybernetic soldiers of the Mechanicus, march in perfect synchrony. Titans, towering god machines, lumber through assembly yards, each step shaking the ground. Engine seers recite binaric prayers as they tend to reactors and plasma coils, their voices echoing in the metallic cathedrals of industry. To the tech priests, knowledge is sacred. Maintenance rituals blend science and superstition. Sacred oils are anointed upon gears. Machine spirits are placated with hymns. Even the simplest firearm is treated with reverence, for to them, technology is divine. The Mechanicus jealously guards its secrets, refusing to share knowledge with others, even the Imperium itself, unless it serves their mysterious objectives. Across the stars, the Imperial Navy holds vigil. Their ships are fortress temples, vast as cities, bristling with lance batteries and torpedo tubes. Servitors scuttle through the corridors, tending to countless duties. Officers stand on command bridges illuminated by hololithic maps of the void. Battle hymns resound as crewmen prepare for combat. In times of peace, these vessels patrol trade routes, deter pirates, and maintain the Emperor's law. In times of war, they unleash devastating firepower capable of annihilating planets. Void warfare is a terrifying ordeal. Enemy fire can rupture hulls, venting thousands into the cold abyss. Boarding actions become desperate, close-quarter battles in blood-slick corridors, entire ships vanish into the warp, never to emerge. Yet the Navy persists, for without it the Imperium would fall prey to the predations of Xenos raiders and traitor fleets. And there are many Xenos threats. The orcs, green-skinned brutes, are driven by an instinctual need for war. To them, fighting is not merely survival, it's the only way of life worth living. Orc warbands descend upon worlds in tides of crude spacecraft, wielding ramshackle weapons that somehow work through sheer belief. Where orcs go, cities burn, skies darken with smoke, and entire continents become battlefields. Once masters of a vast empire, their civilization was shattered by their own decadence. Now they dwell on craft worlds, enormous ships that glide between the stars like drifting cities. The Eldar possess psychic power unrivaled among mortals, able to glimpse the threads of fate. But their knowledge comes with sorrow, for they are ever aware that they teeter on the brink of extinction. The Necrons awaken from tomb worlds scattered across the galaxy, cold, metallic figures. They were once flesh and blood, but traded their souls for immortality. Now they rise to reclaim their ancient empire, wielding weapons that unravel matter itself. Entire worlds fall silent as Necron legions march inexorably forward. To face them is to face the relentless, silent advance of death made manifest. In the shadows crawl the Genestealer cults, hidden amidst human populations, hide and amidst human populations. They begin with a single alien creature infecting a human host. Over generations, hybrids spread through society like a cancer. They become factory workers, administrators, even planetary governors. When the time comes, they rise in bloody revolt, heralding the arrival of the Tyranid hive fleets, a monstrous tide of bioengineered organisms that devours everything in its path, leaving barren rock where thriving worlds once stood. Yet no threat is as insidious as chaos. Its influence seeps into the mortal realm, exploiting weakness, pride, and fear. The Horus heresy stands as the Imperium's greatest scar, a civil war that sundered brother from brother, half of the Primarchs, once the Emperor's loyal sons, turned against him. Whole space marine legions fell to chaos, transforming into monstrous shadows of their former selves. The galaxy burned in a conflict that nearly consumed humanity entirely. Though the heresy ended 10,000 years ago, its consequences echo still. The traitor legions, driven into the Eye of Terror, a warp storm where reality breaks and daemons rule, continue to launch raids and invasions. Each battle with chaos threatens to unravel the Imperium from within. And amidst all this, there is the Emperor himself. Once a man of flesh and blood, he now sits upon the golden throne, a desiccated husk kept alive by arcane technology and the sacrifice of thousands of psykers each day. Through his psychic might, he guides humanity, his mind a blazing beacon that keeps the warp navigable. His voice echoes across time and space, commanding faith and fear alike. He is worshipped as a god, though in life he rejected such veneration. His silence leaves the Imperium to interpret his will as best it can, leading to dogma, schisms, and inquisitions. Yet without him, the light of humanity would surely gutter and die. This is the Imperium of man, vast, ancient, bloody, beautiful. A place where faith is as sharp as a blade, where hope flickers amidst the darkness. It endures against a galaxy determined to crush it, powered by sacrifice, faith, and the unyielding will to survive. And in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. It is into this galaxy-spanning crucible that countless stories unfold, each as tragic and epic as the next. Entire civilizations rise and fall in the span of a few generations. Planetary governors dream of independence, only to be crushed beneath the boot of imperial retribution. Noble houses feud over scraps of territory, spilling rivers of blood for a few kilometers of hive city real estate. In the hive cities themselves, life is brutal and short. Towering structures pierce the atmosphere, layer upon layer of metal and stone where billions are crammed into suffocating proximity. The lower levels are choked with toxic fumes, perpetual darkness, and the stench of industry. Gangs battle for dominance in the underhive, armed with stubbers, chainswords, and makeshift explosives. The law barely reaches these depths. Sometimes even the Arbites dare not descend, leaving entire zones under the rule of gang lords and rogue psychers. The middle hives are filled with the endless drone of manufactoria, producing weapons, ammunition, rations, and all the machinery of imperial warfare. Workers toil for hours beyond counting, their lives measured in quotas and efficiency. To fail one's daily output is to risk punishment, exile to the underhive, or worse, summary execution, or sile to the underhive, or worse, summary execution. The spires above, however, are realms of wealth and decadence. Here, the nobility lives in opulent towers adorned with stained glass and golden statues. Luxurious ballrooms host gatherings where lords and ladies maneuver for political advantage. The scent of rare spices fills the air, and priceless art lines the halls. Yet even here, beneath the silken veneer, lies fear of assassination, of political disgrace, of the Inquisition's sudden knock at the door. On agricultural worlds, endless fields of grain sway under alien suns. Massive harvesters crawl across plains the size of continents, gathering food to feed the teeming masses of the Imperium. Farm laborers live harsh lives, often under the rule of distant planetary overlords. Their prayers go to the Emperor, hoping the tithes will be enough to avoid the wrath of the Administratum. Mining worlds dig deep into rock and ice, hauling forth the metals and minerals vital to imperial industry. Conditions are hellish: collapsing tunnels, toxic gases, deadly radiation. The miner's skin grows pale from lack of sunlight. Entire populations can be wiped out by a single seismic shift. Yet without them, starships could not be built, nor weapons forged. On fortress worlds, entire continents bristle with fortifications, missile silos, and defense lasers. Regiments train day and night for the possibility of invasion. Artillery drills shake the ground like earthquakes. The skies hum with patrol craft. These planets exist solely to hold back the tide of alien incursions or chaos invasions. For many soldiers born here, they will never leave their world, destined to die on their own soil in defense of the Emperor. There are also feudal worlds preserved almost deliberately in a medieval state. Knights in ceramite plate ride bioengineered steeds into battle with power lances. Lords and kings rule by hereditary right, their banners flying over stone keeps. Such worlds are considered useful recruiting grounds for the Astra Militarum and the Adeptus Astartes, for their people are accustomed to hardship and warfare. Frontier worlds hover on the edge of imperial reach. Colonists scratch out a living amidst alien jungles, barren deserts, or frozen plains. They battle not only the elements but predators, native xenos, and raiders. For them, the Imperium can seem like a distant myth, a promise of protection that may never arrive. When it does come, it's often aboard a warship, bringing conscription orders or new taxes. Then there are death worlds, planets so hostile that human life is almost impossible. Every plant is poisonous. Every animal is lethal. The very air might scald the lungs. Yet from these worlds come some of the most ferocious regiments of the Astra Militarum, hardened by their merciless homelands into warriors of legendary resilience. Within the labyrinthine bureaucracy of the Imperium, entire departments exist whose purpose has been forgotten. Administrators file reports no one reads, stamped documents whose meanings are lost to time. Some offices wage paper wars with rivals for centuries, issuing contradicting orders that plunge entire systems into chaos, and through all of this, the Administratum collects its tithes. Every planet owes tribute, troops, grain, minerals, weapons. The punishment for failing one's tithe can be catastrophic, including exterminatus, the ultimate sanction of the Imperium. When a world is deemed irretrievably lost to heresy, chaos, or xenos infestation, it is purged from existence. Orbital bombardments, virus bombs, cyclonic torpedoes, methods vary, but the result is always the same: total planetary annihilation. Billions die in seconds, and the world becomes a lifeless husk. Such is the price of preserving humanity's survival. Meanwhile, the Inquisition moves like a shadow across the Imperium. Inquisitors possess near unlimited authority, able to command Imperial forces, pass judgment, and execute punishment without oversight. They are humanity's shield against threats that cannot be named aloud: daemons, cults, alien infiltrators, rogue psychers. Yet the Inquisition itself is riven with factions. Some Inquisitors seek to cleanse the galaxy with fire and blade. Others believe in subtlety and infiltration. Their rivalries sometimes spill into open conflict, and in the darkness of the Imperium, even the hunters can become the hunted. Across the void, black ships of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica gather psychers from 1,000 worlds. These ships ferry their human cargo to Terra, where psychers are judged. Some are sacrificed to sustain the Emperor's life on the Golden Throne. Others are trained to become sanctioned psychers, serving the Imperium as astropaths, battle psychers, or administrators. Many, however, do not survive the journey, driven mad by the psychic currents of the warp or consumed by demonic possession. The warp itself remains humanity's greatest curse and blessing. It allows ships to cross impossible distances, guided by the Astronomicon, the psychic beacon of the Emperor. Yet the warp is a realm of raw emotion and nightmare. Time moves unpredictably. Ships can emerge weeks, years, or even centuries after entering, sometimes into a galaxy that has forgotten them. Daemons lurk in the tides, seeking entry into reality. For navigators, humans born with the third eye upon their forehead, the warp is a shifting sea of colors and shapes. Only they can safely steer a ship through its maelstrom. But they pay a price for their gift. Prolonged exposure warps their features, makes their minds fragile. Some become mad prophets, others tyrants within their noble houses. Through all these trials, humanity persists. The soldiers of the Astra Militarum stand in endless ranks, lasguns clutched in trembling hands, facing horrors no man should witness. The Adeptus Astartes strike like avenging angels, their power armor glinting under alien suns. The Sisters of Battle sing hymns as they unleash holy wrath upon heretics. Tech priests whisper to machine spirits while plasma coils glow white-hot. All this is done in the Emperor's name, for in the Imperium there is only one certainty. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter. And so, the stars burn on. The galaxy is littered with reminders of humanity's past glories and its catastrophes. Ruins of ancient cities sprawl across desolate planets, their once glittering spires now broken and hollow. Crumbling statues of heroes whose names have been forgotten stare with empty eyes across plains of ash. Rusting hulks of starships drift in silent graveyards of cosmic debris, bearing the scars of battles fought millennia ago. Among these remains lie artifacts of unimaginable power, weapons forged in the dark age of technology whose secrets are lost to time. Machines so sophisticated that even the tech priests of Mars dare not tamper with them for fear of unleashing destruction. Entire expeditions vanish searching for standard template constructs, STCs, legendary repositories of human technological knowledge. Even a fragment of an STC can elevate a planetary governor to wealth and influence, or draw the lethal gaze of the Inquisition. The Adeptus Mechanicus, keepers of technology and science, worship the machine god with fervent devotion. To them, knowledge is sacred, and innovation borders on heresy. Their prayers are rituals of oil and data, incense and binary chants. Each circuit and gear has a spirit that must be appeased. They maintain the war engines of the Imperium, The Titans, the plasma reactors, the starships, and guard their secrets with fanatical zeal. On Mars, the red sands conceal forged cathedrals that roar with industry. Colossal foundries churn out weapons of war, while tech priests labor to decode fragments of ancient code. The Fabricator, General, rules as a figure of immense power, second only to the Emperor in influence. Yet even the Mechanicus fears the knowledge it once wielded, for the echoes of the Men of Iron, the AI constructs that nearly destroyed humanity, still haunt their sacred data vaults. Throughout the Imperium, faith is as potent a weapon as any bolter or lasgun. The Ecclesiarchy preaches the Imperial Creed, proclaiming the Emperor as mankind's divine savior. Churches and cathedrals rise in every city, adorned with golden aquilars and burning candles. Priests lead fervent congregations in hymns, and processions wind through hive streets, carrying relics believed to hold fragments of saints' bones or drops of the emperor's blood. For many citizens, faith is all they have. In a universe where daemons might claw through reality at any moment, where Xenos plot humanity's extinction, and where the Inquisition watches for any hint of heresy, belief offers purpose. Yet faith can become a blade turned inward. Witch hunts flare into murderous frenzy. Innocents are dragged from their homes and burned as heretics. Entire worlds are scoured clean in holy purges to eradicate perceived corruption. The Imperial Creed is more than a religion, it is social glue binding humanity together. But it is also a tool of control, wielded by the High Lords of Terror to maintain unity through fear and reverence. The Ecclesiarchy's power is immense, for to question faith is to risk the accusation of heresy, a crime punishable by death. Against this backdrop of religious fervor stand the Sisters of Battle, the Adepta Sororitas. Clad in power armor, they carry bolters, flamers, and blessed blades into battle. They are the militant arm of the Ecclesiarchy, tasked with purging heretics, witches, and daemons. To witness a squad of sororitas advancing through the smoke of a burning city, hymnals booming from vox speakers, is to see faith made manifest in fire and blood. Yet for all its might, the Imperium is brittle. It is a realm of constant crisis, held together by dogma, terror, and sacrifice. Administrations drown in paperwork, issuing contradictory orders that can doom entire worlds. Resources run thin, stretched across too many warfronts. Great crusades are launched to reclaim lost worlds, only for new threats to emerge. The Imperium is under siege from every side. The Tyranids, a swarm of extragalactic organisms, consume worlds whole, stripping them of all organic matter. Orcs, driven by endless lust for battle, crash through space in ramshackle ships, eager for a fight. The Eldar, ancient and cunning, manipulate events to preserve their dwindling race. The Tau seek to expand their empire under the banner of the greater good, clashing with Imperial forces in wars of ideology and conquest. Most fearsome of all is chaos. From the depths of the warp, the ruinous powers whisper promises of power and immortality. Cults rise in secret, sowing dissent and rebellion. Rogue psychers risk possession, becoming gateways for daemons. Even mighty space marines are not immune, with entire legions having fallen to the lure of chaos. The Horus heresy, the greatest civil war in human history, remains a wound that bleeds still. Horus, war master of the Emperor's armies, once beloved son and chosen heir, betrayed the Emperor and plunged the galaxy into flames. Brother fought brother, worlds burned, and the Siege of Terror left scars still visible 10,000 years later. Though Horus was slain and the traitor legions driven into the Eye of Terror, a vast warp storm, the threat of chaos has never vanished. Within the Eye of Terror, time and reality twist into madness. Daemon worlds exist where mortals live, eternal lives of torment or ecstasy, caught in the schemes of the Chaos Gods. Armies gather there, biding their time to spill forth and strike at the Imperium. Every century, new black crusades are launched, led by Chaos Lords who dream of finishing what Horus began. The Adeptus Astartes, humanity's genetically engineered angels of death, remain the bulwark against these horrors. Each space marine is a living weapon, stronger and faster than any mortal. Clad in power armor, wielding bolters that fire explosive rounds, they are designed to wage war against the galaxy's worst threats. Yet even they are few in number. Only about 1,000 chapters exist, each with roughly 1,000 warriors. A mere 1,000,000 space marines stand guard over 1,000,000 worlds. The stories of the space marines are legends unto themselves. Chapters like the Ultramarines uphold the strict doctrines of the Codex Astartes, fighting with disciplined precision. The Space Wolves defy convention, fighting with savage ferocity and a warrior culture rooted in the ice-covered world of Fenris. The Dark Angels harbor dark secrets, endlessly hunting the fallen brethren who betrayed them during the heresy. The Blood Angels wrestle with the Red Thirst, a genetic flaw that drives them into murderous fury and visions of their Primarch's death. Across 10,000 years, the Space Marines have become both protectors and symbols. Statues of them adorn imperial plazas. Children dream of joining their ranks. But for all their might, they are haunted by the knowledge that even among their number, betrayal is possible. And so the Imperium stands vast, crumbling, magnificent, and monstrous. A realm where technology is venerated as holy, where faith sustains the spirit even as it feeds suspicion, where heroes rise and fall in an endless cycle of sacrifice. All of it teeters on the edge of oblivion, yet in the darkness humanity endures. For the Emperor, for the Imperium, for the hope that, one day, the stars might shine without the shadow of war. To live in the Imperium of man is to exist under the weight of constant vigilance. On countless hive worlds, towering cities stretch kilometers into the sky, housing billions in squalor and gloom. In the depths of these metal warrens, gangs fight brutal wars for territory, while Arbites patrol with shock mauls and bolt pistols, enforcing the Emperor's law with merciless efficiency. For the average citizen, life is an endless routine of toil, worship, and fear. Production quotas must be met, or entire hab blocks may be punished. Dissent is treason. A careless word against the Emperor spoken in frustration can lead to a visit from the Inquisition, or worse, public execution as a warning to others. The Administratum demands records and forms for every detail of existence, from birth to death and often beyond. Mountains of parchment fill endless vaults, each decree written in High Gothic, a language few commoners can even read. Yet hope, twisted though it may be, still exists. Many citizens find meaning in devotion, dedicating every moment to prayer and ritual. Families gather before flickering screens to hear sermons from robed preachers, while icons of the Emperor glow dimly in the darkness. On pilgrimage worlds, faithful masses crawl on their knees for kilometers toward holy shrines, seeking absolution for sins both real and imagined. It is a realm where superstition and religion entwine. A flickering light in a corridor might be a sign from the Emperor or a warning of a lurking daemon. Shadows in the corner of one's eye might be nothing, or the prelude to possession. The Imperial Creed permeates all things, reminding humanity that survival depends on unwavering loyalty. And still, there are those who defy the darkness not merely by faith, but by force. The Inquisition stands as humanity's ultimate safeguard, an organization above all laws, answerable only to the Emperor himself. Inquisitors wield absolute authority to investigate, judge, and eliminate threats to the Imperium. Heresy, Xenos influence, witchcraft, chaos, corruption, all fall under their relentless scrutiny, Each Inquisitor is a force unto themselves. Some operate openly, commanding stormtroopers and vast resources, while others slip through society unseen, working through spies and informants. Their methods are as diverse as their personalities. Puritans see heresy lurking in every shadow, ready to burn entire cities to root it out. Radicals believe the ends justify the means, even consorting with forbidden knowledge or alien tools to protect humanity. The very mention of the Inquisition is enough to inspire fear. Citizens whisper tales of black-robed figures who arrive without warning, entire populations vanishing in their wake, ships seized in the void, records erased. Rest! Rest! Secrets buried. For in the Imperium it is better that 1,000,000 innocents perish than one traitor survive. Beyond the Inquisition's reach lie the rogue traders, adventurers granted extraordinary freedom by ancient warrants of trade. These individuals and their dynasties command vast ships, entire micro-empires unto themselves. They sail the void, charting new routes through the warp, trading with alien species and gathering riches or forbidden knowledge. Their exploits are legendary. Some discover lost human worlds and bring them back into the Imperial fold. Others vanish into the stars, never to return. But even rogue traders are not above suspicion. Wealth and power breed ambition, and ambition breeds secrets. Many rogue traders walk a fine line between sanctioned exploration and outright heresy, trafficking in Xenos artifacts, consorting with aliens, or dabbling in warp sorcery. The Inquisition watches them closely. Amid these grand currents, the Mechanicus continues its eternal quest for lost technology. Explorator fleets scour the galaxy, seeking STCs, forgotten data vaults, or pre-imperial marvels. Sometimes they uncover weapons of devastating power, sometimes merely fragments of corrupted code. Mars dispatches its tech priests to analyze every scrap of recovered knowledge, for in each ancient circuit might lie salvation or doom. Meanwhile, the Adeptus Astra Telepathica recruits psychers from across Imperial worlds, screening them for potential service. Psychers are a dangerous necessity, for without their talents, astropathic communication across the stars would collapse. Yet every psyker risks opening a door to the warp's horrors. Those judged too unstable are condemned to the Emperor's sacrifice, a grim ritual feeding the psychic beacon of the Astronomicon, which guides Imperial ships through the warp. The Astronomicon itself is the beating heart of the Imperium's navigational might. Its psychic light reaches across thousands of light years, enabling navigators to steer starships safely. The Emperor, bound to the Golden Throne, fuels this beacon with his unfathomable psychic power. Without it, warp travel would become blind madness, and the Imperium would fall apart in isolated fragments. And always, looming over all, are the Space Marines. Whether deploying in surgical strikes to eliminate heretical cults, or leading massed assaults against entrenched alien strongholds, they are symbols of the Emperor's wrath. Civilians gaze up in awe at towering statues carved in their image, each armored figure a reminder that humanity is not alone in the night. But even legends can fall. Throughout the 10,000 years since the heresy, entire Space Marine chapters have turned traitor, seduced by chaos or driven by bitterness against Imperial authorities. The Inquisition maintains records of these betrayals, locked away in vaults under terror. Whispers of new rebellions circulate constantly. Loyal chapters hunt renegades through the stars, determined to erase all record of their existence. Within the Eye of Terror, the traitor legions plot revenge. Once proud sons of the Emperor, now twisted by centuries in the warp, they launch raids into real space, seeking to destabilize the Imperium and spread corruption. The Black Legion under Abaddon the Despoiler has waged 13 Black Crusades, each bringing terror and devastation. Though each has failed to destroy the Imperium outright, the damage is cumulative: worlds burned, sectors lost, trust shattered. The forces of chaos are insidious. They strike not only with bolters and blades, but with whispered promises. Cults form in the shadows, offering power, wealth, or forbidden knowledge. Planetary governors become pawns of demonic patrons, their private armies prepared to turn against the Imperium at the moment of greatest weakness. Chaos sows division and distrust, weakening humanity from within, yet the Imperium endures. For all its cruelty and repression, for all its blood-soaked history, it stands as humanity's last line of defense. Its worlds burn, its armies fall, and still it fights on, Because there is no alternative. Humanity cannot negotiate with the Tyranids who seek only to devour. It cannot coexist with the Necrons who regard mortals as fleeting vermin. It cannot trust the Eldar whose schemes serve only themselves. It cannot find common ground with the Orcs for whom war is the only purpose, and it cannot ever surrender to chaos, for chaos offers only madness, mutation, and the annihilation of the human soul. So the Imperium fights. Its soldiers march, its fleets sail the stars, its priests preach of sacrifice and vigilance. Generations live and die in service to a dream they may never see fulfilled. But in every trench, every forge, every cathedral, the same words echo: for the Emperor, for humanity, for the hope that somehow, against all odds, mankind will prevail. And all the while, the clock of the galaxy ticks relentlessly forward. Time wears away even the most indomitable fortresses and the mightiest armies. Entire systems vanish into silence, swallowed by warp storms or consumed by Xenos invasions. Administrators on Terra shuffle papers and seal decrees, rarely understanding the true magnitude of the crises raging light years away. The bureaucracy groans under its own weight, countless scribes and clerks perpetually overworked, endlessly documenting the fall of worlds no one will ever visit again. The Imperium remains a paradox, simultaneously the strongest empire in the galaxy and teetering forever on the brink of collapse. Its armies are vast beyond imagination, millions upon millions of soldiers ready to die for the Emperor. Its fleets crisscross the stars, carrying Titans, Space Marines, and the mortal warriors of the Imperial Guard. Entire forge worlds labor unceasingly to churn out lasguns, bolters, and battle tanks. Yet, the challenges it faces are colossal. Supplies can take decades to arrive at a front line. Orders are often obsolete by the time they're received. Sectors fall into chaos because of miscommunication or paranoia. And all the while, humanity's enemies grow in number and strength. The Tyranids, unstoppable swarms from beyond the galaxy, consume planets until nothing remains but bare rock. Their bioships travel in living fleets, guided by a vast psychic will known as the hive mind. No diplomacy, no ransom, no bribe can sway them. They simply devour, leaving only void behind. The Necrons, ancient and silent, stir from their tomb worlds. They awaken with technologies that bend reality itself, wielding weapons that unravel matter at the atomic level. Their dynasties, driven by alien motives incomprehensible to mortals, seek to reclaim the galaxy they once ruled in ages past. The Orcs, green-skinned brutes whose entire civilization is built around endless war, erupt across sectors in surging warp, ups, brapa. The Eldar, graceful and dying, attempt to manipulate events from the shadows. They are a dwindling people, haunted by the birth of Slaanesh and the loss of their empire. Their seers glimpse futures filled with doom, and they act with cold ruthlessness to avert catastrophe, even if it means sacrificing entire human worlds to preserve their own dwindling kind. And chaos itself is ever present, the warp seething with demonic hosts eager to spill into real space. Each chaos god hungers for dominance. Khorne for bloodshed, Zeonch for manipulation, Nurgle for decay, Slaanesh for excess. Their mortal servants spread corruption, whispering lies that sow rebellion and heresy. Across the galaxy, Imperial commanders must choose between mercy and survival. A single psychic outbreak can doom an entire planet. A governor infected by chaos may need to be purged, along with every soul under his rule. Exterminatus, the total annihilation of all life on a world, remains a grim tool in the Imperium's arsenal. Billions can die in an instant, sacrificed so that billions more might live. Children are born into debt. Citizens labor in manufacturings filled with toxic smoke. Crime and heresy are punished with flaying, hanging, or incineration. Servitors shuffle through corridors, lobotomized humans fused with machinery, performing menial tasks for eternity. And still, in cathedrals lit by flickering candles, choirs sing hymns to the Emperor. The ecclesiarchy fans the flames of devotion, urging humanity to sacrifice everything for faith. Pilgrims traverse hazardous warp routes to reach holy sites on Terra, carrying relics, prayers, and fervent hope. For many, belief is all they have left. The Imperium's strength lies not only in its armies, but in its sheer stubbornness. The iron determination to endure. Its soldiers may fall by the millions, its ships be lost in the void, its worlds burn under alien suns, but humanity fights on, because there is no other choice. But 10,000 years of war have twisted that vision into a monstrous machine of survival. A brutal regime that slaughters its own as readily as it destroys the enemy. Yet perhaps it is this very savagery that keeps humanity alive in a galaxy so hostile. And in the silent halls of the Imperial Palace on Terra, beneath gold and marble arches, the Emperor remains upon the golden throne, a rotting god, neither dead nor fully alive, whose psychic will still shield mankind from total annihilation. His existence demands a daily sacrifice of thousands of psykers, their souls burned away to feed the Astronomican's guiding light. Without him, warp storms would sever human worlds from one another forever. Trade would cease, fleets would be lost, Xenos would pick apart isolated systems, chaos would pick apart isolated systems, chaos would pour unchecked into real space. The Emperor's continued survival, though horrific, is humanity's last hope. In the 41st millennium, optimism is a rare and fragile thing. Those who dare to dream of a peaceful galaxy are either naive or mad, yet even amid despair, the Imperium persists. Because humanity is capable of astonishing resilience. Because there are heroes who rise from obscurity to perform deeds of valor, because billions will still lift their voices to the stars, praying for deliverance, and because somewhere in that boundless darkness, a sliver of light endures. Somewhere in the hearts of mortals who refuse to surrender, who hold a weapon though their limbs shake, who whisper prayers though their faith falters, that light endures. And perhaps that is the greatest truth of the Imperium of Man. It is not merely the Emperor's indomitable will that preserves humanity, nor solely the might of the Adeptus Astartes, nor the countless ranks of the Imperial Guard. It is the simple, persistent refusal to die. The refusal to be erased from history, no matter the odds stacked against mankind. Across the galaxy, countless battles rage. Space Marines drop from orbit in streaks of fire, bringing bolter and chainsword to Xenos and heretic alike. Tank divisions roll across alien planes, crushing enemy strongholds under iron treads. Fleets of colossal starships exchange barrages of plasma fire, illuminating the void with lethal brilliance. Worlds are cleansed with virus bombs, reduced to ash and swirling storms of toxins. Entire cities vanish beneath atomic fire. The Mechanicus seeks out forgotten STCs, praying that some hidden fragment of ancient technology might turn the tide of war. Rogue traders venture into uncharted regions, driven by ambition, greed, and the dream of rediscovery. For every legend known to the galaxy, 1,000 stories remain untold. A single guardsman holding the line against overwhelming horrors. A tech priest sacrificing his own flesh to stabilize a reactor on the brink of meltdown. An inquisitor condemning an entire city to flame to root out a chaos cult. These moments are small threads in the vast tapestry of the Imperium. Together they form the ultimate testament to humanity's resolve. Even as worlds burn, as horrors emerge from the warp, as Xenos armies descend, humanity persists. It is this persistence, this refusal to yield, that terrifies humanity's enemies. The Eldar, with all their psychic foresight, know that humans will never stop coming. The Necrons, so ancient and cold, witness humanity's ceaseless proliferation. Even the gods of chaos, for all their power, cannot fully extinguish mankind's will to endure. At times, the Imperium is its own worst enemy. Corruption festers in the Administratum. High Lords on Terra scheme for power. Jealous rivalries between Imperial factions threaten to fracture the unity. The Emperor fought so hard to forge. Zealotry and ignorance suffocate progress, reducing innovation to whispered heresy. But still, the fires of human ambition, curiosity, and courage burn on. There are tech priests on Mars who dare to dream of unlocking forbidden knowledge. There are inquisitors who, amid fanaticism, cling to reason and justice. There are commanders who fight not only to conquer worlds, but to protect the innocent. And sometimes, amid the constant darkness, victories are won. New worlds are brought into the fold. Heretical uprisings are crushed before they can spread. Ancient relics of the dark age of technology are recovered and restored. Fleets return home battered but triumphant. On the surface of worlds racked by war, the Emperor's statues still stand tall. Beneath the cracked ceramite and stained armor, Space Marines still carry forward the Imperial truth. And across 1 billion worlds, the name of the Emperor is spoken in reverence and in fear. The question remains whether the Imperium can sustain itself for another 1,000 years, whether humanity can adapt, grow, and overcome its internal stagnation, or whether it will finally fracture under the weight of constant war, leaving nothing but silence and dust. Yet even that question, hanging heavy over the 41st millennium, cannot erase the fundamental truth: humanity fights on, because there is no alternative. To stop fighting is to die. To give in is to be devoured by Xenos, by chaos, by the endless void. So the Imperium marches forward, fueled by hope and terror in equal measure, a civilization built upon the ashes of countless civilizations that came before, an empire of warriors, priests, scribes, and dreamers who stare into the abyss and refuse to blink. The Emperor sits immobile upon his throne, silent and unseen while the galaxy burns. But his legacy endures in the hearts of men and women who stand against oblivion. And in this darkness, in the grinding gears of endless war, there exists a single shining conviction: the Imperium will not die today.